So the agenda for today's meeting is this, okay? Any product manager, when they are operating, whether they are in business, building products, or they are interacting with the customers, etc., etc., you will find that as a product manager, you deal with tremendous amount of ambiguity. I'll give you a very small instance, a very cliched instance, but that is so true. I'll take you back to history and think about Henry Ford. Huh? Henry Ford supposed to make cars, etc. People were using horses. We all say, "Oh, had I listened to my customers, I would have made faster horses, etc." Actually, I don't know whether Henry Ford, had he listened to his customers, he would have made faster horses. Maybe he would have made hay for the horses to eat or something like that, right? Basically, the intent that he had to solve at that time was, how do I make my people travel from point A to point B faster? Whether it's a horse, whether it's something mechanized, etc. And I'm sure the conversation wouldn't have been, oh, right now we have horse and we have to go figure out how to make cars. That's not the case. But the case is how ambiguous that conversation would have been for him to figure out that I have to go do something, build a product by understanding the core needs of the customer, right? As PMs, you will find 70% of the time your customers will come to you and give you the solution. They will say, hey, Sushmita, I want this. Okay, and then what would you do? If customers want X, you give them X. But more often than not, you will find that when customers articulate solutions, right, they are thinking that what they are articulating is the best solution for them, which may not be the case. That happens so very often. Okay, so the moot point is, as PMs, you will deal with so much ambiguity in your life in while building products, that you will have to figure out what is the right way for me to think. Now, while I'm saying this, remember one more thing. When as PMs you're dealing with ambiguity, even in PM interviews, there are certain questions that will validate exactly that. That how are you able to deal with ambiguity? Today, I have a very brave volunteer, Sushmita. So Sushmita has volunteered to do a mock interview with me today on a very, very ambiguous topic. Sushmita was kind enough to ask me, should I prepare? I said, I'm not giving you anything. So she's not aware what the conversation will be, and you will see that. I will ask her to pick one topic and we will go deep on that. It's a mock interview. I invite all of you, and it's a different kind of mock interview. Huh? Don't think of it like this is exactly how I would do it when I'm interviewing people in Microsoft. You will see some changes because while I'm interviewing, I'm also coaching. So you will see that there are some variations, and you will see those variations as we go along. Does that make sense? Sushmita, you all set?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
ready.
perfect. Your audio is clear. So Sushmita and everyone
Yes.
else, I welcome all of you to this mock interview where, as I said, we will be dealing with a very, very ambiguous question. Okay. And while I share that ambiguous question with you, I want to share a slide so that I let you pick your question. Okay. And I want to show you that immaterial of what the question may be, uh, it's all that matters is the structure that we follow. Okay. So we are looking at ambiguous PM interview questions. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Perfect. So here are 4 ambiguous questions which were asked to some of us right here in the last 2 weeks. These are questions that were given to me by you guys saying that I have been asked this question. Sandeep, help us how to answer such questions. Sushmita, go improve performance of WhatsApp. Or Sushmita, what's your favorite app? Go improve it. Sushmita, you want satellite data? Now make business out of it. Sushmita, Microsoft wants to enter food market. Go figure out what the product may be. You see, these are very, very, very ambiguous questions. There is hardly a lead to it. So Sushmita, welcome to this mock interview. There are some ground rules of this interview. Rule number 1,
Yeah.
uh, stay at ease. It's absolutely all right. Do not think of it like an interview. Think of it as if we are doing a brainstorming session over coffee. Now, since we are doing a brainstorming session over coffee, you're allowed to take coffee breaks, take pauses, spend some time to think your answer before you say. I reiterate, what matters is the structure. If you get the structure right, You will get your data points right in any case. All right. And since it's a setup interview, I will help you all the way along to get that structure wrong, right. So don't worry if you don't get the structure right. Okay, I will help you today. Sushmita, I volunteer you to pick up any topic of your choice, and that is your interview question.
I would go with the last question. It seems a bit different. Uh,
All right. So Sushmita,
want to
great.
enter food market, yeah.
Perfect. So Michael wants to enter food market. Sushmita, go ahead. That's your question.
Okay. Fine. Can I pick something in the supply chain, like the
Sure.
manufacturing part after the
Okay.
farmers, or
Okay. By not manufacturing, you mean the supply chain part after the farmers have grown
yeah, or
something.
just the complete farmer part?
Okay.
You can
Okay.
pick so
Okay.
right from the base, which is the
Okay.
base of the food industry. So
Okay. Now that you have your farmer, let's go ahead with it. Huh? You're thinking when Microsoft is trying to enter the food industry, you want to pick up the farmer as one such persona. What do you think? What's happening in the life of a farmer?
well, actually, I'm from an urban background, so I wouldn't know much about farmers. But what I know is mainly they just go to the fields, they cultivate the grains or whatever the plants or the vegetables or fruits or whatever, and then they just send it to the manufacturing, and from the manufacturers at the supply chain it goes on. So in the farmers they usually cultivate. So that's what it happens in the life, and they sell their whatever the grains or the fruits, whatever the products they have
Okay.
built.
So what are the problems?
The problem is the cultivation.
What is the problem in cultivation?
So maybe how well, mostly the weather conditions, if there are proper rains, or if we like, what about the if there is no proper growth of the plants, then farmer is in trouble. So mainly the main job of the farmer is to cultivate the grains or the fruits or whatever is this plant, and then sell it to the particular, whether it's his customer can be anyone, the direct customer or the end customer, or any of them, the manufacturers or any of them, but his only job is to sell and just get his income.
Okay. Let me articulate the entire chain of a farmer's life. Okay. So I'm a farmer. I have land. You just need to visualize that I'm a farmer. I woke up in the morning. What does my day look like? Okay. I have a field. On one day, I need to go figure out what I need to cultivate in that field. Should I grow tomatoes or pineapples? Fair point. Now I figured out that, oh, I will cultivate pineapples. On what basis did I make that decision? Maybe I should have grown tomatoes. It would have been better. Maybe mangoes. Maybe it would have been better. Then what do? I go buy seeds. The seeds that I buy, are they of high quality, low quality? Are they the best seeds? Are they not the best seeds? Once I bought the seeds, what will I do? I will put them. I'll plow the land. I'll put them. I'll sow them. Once I sow them, what do? I irrigate. Are there any issues in irrigation? Once I irrigate, the plants grow. Once plants grow, then I harvest. Once I harvest, I take them and put them in a truck and then ship it to the mandi. Then somebody purchases it in the mandi, gives me money. When I get money, I come back, I reinvest in the next farm. Does that sound like a fair enough value chain of a farmer?
Fair
Okay.
enough. Yeah.
If this is the value chain, I want you to think through in this value chain, what are the big problems that a farmer may be facing?
First problem might be the harvesting. Firstly, when he buy seeds, he's not sure about how well the seeds are, but still he might be experienced with that. And after that, mainly the weather monitor, if there are no rains properly, so that is one of his challenges.
Hmm.
And also the problem with the pesticides, or I don't know, any kind of infections or any kind of problems for the plants while growing. So that might be a problem. Like and so he'll have to buy pesticides and insecticides for the same. So there might be financial problems as well here.
Okay. Keep going.
So that is the main thing. So after that, once he receives his end product, I think he would be fine. And also he must discover what about the season. Like if, for example, you were telling if he has to decide whether he has to grow tomatoes or pineapples. So firstly, his decision should be based on the season, like whether they'll grow properly, and then if customers would like it or not. So that's based on that, he should make a decision.
Okay. So you told me at least four problems, huh? You said there could be financial problem, there's seed selection, there is seasonality, then there is aspect of whether I should grow tomatoes or pineapples. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, correct.
Okay. So now that you have these problems identified, what do you want to do next?
Then we'll have to select like what now we have to think about. We'll have to analyze the problems and then think about the solution, what the best Microsoft can help the farmers.
Okay, let's think. What are your solutions?
Firstly, Microsoft can build, of course, I don't know if it's already there, but an artificial irrigation system.
Go on.
And yeah, an artificial irrigation system, because the rains must be like, it must be like here uncertain sometimes, and try to grow like a proper, and also like proper quality, the seed selection. So we can try to test any kind of quality testing or something like that. And yeah, the artificial irrigation system, that would also help. So these might be these are the main solutions that Microsoft can give.
How, let's talk about artificial irrigation system. What does it mean?
Artificial irrigation system means that the rains, actually when there are no proper rains, then we can have artificially induced, not rains, I mean to say, like the pipelines, the pipes, or which can actually give plants, I mean we can irrigate plants on timely basis.
So those are like wells and tube wells.
Not really, not wells and tube wells. Wells and tube wells are manual, I suppose, but the irrigation system is, again, it can be automated. So even in the absence of
What
farmers, we
problem?
can.
What problem are you solving by doing this automated irrigation? You getting where I'm getting to? We will do automated irrigation. I totally agree, and I know where you're heading. My question is, why do you want to do automated irrigation? There must be a problem that automated irrigation solves. You said one is no proper rains. Anything else?
So, and also like farmers, they can also have something else. They can also concentrate on multiple tasks at the same time. So there can be,
So basically, you're saying the farmer does not need to worry about irrigation at all.
yeah,
So there is a system. You turn it on, it will go figure out that where water is needed.
yes, that's how we can.
Okay. Help me understand, how will you build this? I'm aligned with you. Let's build this automated irrigation system. My question to you is, how will you go build it? What are the key components that you're thinking in your mind?
So the key components might be the bore wells and of course tube wells, and also some of the, some of the automated tabs where we already have them, like all, the automated system induced in them, and also we would have the sensors, so that, and also timers. So but every 1 hour or 2 hours, it will automatically irrigate the plants.
Okay. What information does this sensor need in order to irrigate?
The timer sensor, like for every 2 hours or for every 4 hours. And it is like we should also create like the database based on what kind of the plant it is. So if it is like if it's a pineapple, it needs the irrigation differently. If it's a tomato, it needs the irrigation. If it's a rice plant, if it's a wheat plant, it needs it differently. So once we store all the information in the sensor, based on that, the irrigation can be made.
Okay, so let's assume there is a tomato plant. Okay, I have planted tomato all throughout my entire area. Now, understand that journey of irrigation now. I have planted whatever, 2 hectares of tomato. Okay, and tomato, let's assume, requires some irrigation. I have no idea how much, but let's say every 5 seconds it needs a splinter, or let's say every 5 minutes it needs some sprinkler to go water them. Okay, what are the components of irrigation that are critical for you to in order to irrigate that tomato?
Actually,
You're lost.
no. No, not like that. So for tomato instance, I don't know that because I'm not complete. I don't know what exactly a tomato plant needs, but
Yeah, even
we
I don't know.
can.
I'm just making it up. I'm just saying, let's assume
Okay.
every 5 minutes you need the waters to turn on.
Yeah.
Are there other aspects that or other intelligence you want to build in this automated irrigation system?
Yeah. So all of them which is needed, the all the information which is needed to for the plant to grow healthily, for the
What
tomato plant to
information
grow
is needed?
healthily.
What information is needed?
Like what kind of soil is required, or what kind of what is the time of the water, like it has to be irrigated, or what is the on what durations the plant has to be watered, and also what is the sunlight required, or like all that required. So what is the manures, or what is the pesticides or insecticides, whatever is required.
Hmm. So I'm taking some hints from people who have written here, right? Nikhil, Menaka, they are talking about soil moisture sensors, soil study, trying to figure out
True.
what is there in the soil. What if it rained yesterday? Then you don't want to turn on your sprinklers. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
What if it is going to rain tomorrow? Then also don't turn on your sprinklers. Why are you wasting money?
True.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense? What if the land belongs to an area which is already very fertile? Then maybe the soil moisture will tell you that the number of times you turn on the sprinkler in Himachal Pradesh is very different from the number of times you turn it on in Karnataka maybe.
Yeah.
You getting what I'm saying?
So we would
Think on those
only
lines.
concentrate, yeah, so we would only focus on the areas which require this irrigation system. Like we
Uh-huh.
wouldn't concentrate, we would only concentrate mainly on the tropical areas,
Okay.
not on, not everything.
Okay. So now let's assume you have built this irrigation system, and there are okay, wait a minute. Let's not jump into that we have already built it. Are there other things that you need in order for irrigation system to work? There's a tomato. एक पौधा है, पौधे को पानी दे रहे हैं. On what basis do you give water? What are the, and this is, I'll give you, it's a very technical question, huh? I am asking you, what is the state diagram of a plant? A plant can be in different states. Depending upon the different states of a plant, the irrigation requirements may change. I'll tell you some
State
states of
diagram.
the plant. I'll tell you some states of the
Yeah,
plant.
yeah.
Huh? A plant
Okay.
is a seed. It has just germinated.
Okay, okay.
It has grown. It has fallen, completely spoiled, about to be harvested, plucked out. These are various phases of a plant. If I have to ask you that how will you design this irrigation system depending on these various phases, assuming that each phase requires a different level of irrigation requirement, how will you do that?
Um, so that I think the farmer has to do it manually, or then we can design it based on, we'll have to induce it in the database, but we also need some efforts of the farmer, like once like in induce, I mean inserting all the databases, so we can have this information at what stage what can happen. Like for example, it's seed stage, I'm not sure, like during the seed stage it requires more water. At that time the farmer has to set the system as little bit of little high, with the settings have to be a little different. But when it's like maybe it's already grown up, maybe it requires a little lesser water, then the farmer has to do it, or we can apply, we can have that as well automated. So the stage, like in the settings block, like we can have it the stage of the plant, or the weather today, the weather required, or the amount of water required. So we can have all the settings within the automation, and then we can plan it.
Okay. Um, if let's say you
So
are going, yeah, go ahead, Sushmita.
no, no, no. Actually, I have a plan. I have a strategy after irrigation and after the farmer as well. So yeah.
Why don't you talk through it?
Yeah, sure. So basically, firstly we can so after the farmers like after the after the farmer's end product is ready, like the plants or anything is ready, he just wants to sell, as I think Menaka has told, like farm to fork, or I mean there are many such organizations where we say that it's directly fresh from farm. So because Microsoft is known for its quality, like, and also we can actually we can build an application that's like an e-commerce application, like which is fresh from farm. And here we are also building our own irrigation system and making sure that the plants are whatever, like let's take pineapple for example, and it's healthily grown because Microsoft is known for its quality. We also be making sure that the pineapple is very healthy and very fertile, and it's safe for the customer to have it. So we can build an application or a website which is directly from the farmers from the farm, and then we can also ensure that the quality is best because the Microsoft has built this irrigation system and also made sure that the quality is really best. And based on this, we can directly share it. Directly sell it to the customer. So in this way, anyways, because building apps to my for Microsoft, it's a very simple thing. So here we are ensuring the quality and also selling it to the customer through our app. Here we can definitely globalize things because we have different fruits, like it's different, like for example blueberries and all are like it's of course available in the Western countries, but like mangoes, it's here in India. So it's like through Microsoft app we can definitely have this as well.
Got it. Got it. So, Sushmita, I'm just looking at the time. We are 39 minutes in, and I wanted to close on the interview in 40 minutes so that we can reflect for the last 20 minutes. So, my last
Sure.
question to you is, um, do you have any question for me?
Okay, so yeah, so this is my strategy. So firstly, that so for here I have 2 points that we are actually making sure that the farmer has harvested the food very like very healthily, and then we are directly selling it to the customers through our Microsoft app, something like through our e-commerce app. So that's how Microsoft can enter the food industry is my strategy.
So, thanks for the summary, but I'm asking you otherwise. Do you have a question for me away from the interview?
No, no. I just want to. I know. I just want to make sure, like, what else can, how better it can be, like, how better my
We'll
strategy
reflect.
can
We
be.
will reflect. We will reflect. Okay. So now I'm going to share my screen. And in case you didn't notice, I was taking notes all the way along. So
Okay.
let me reflect on this interview. Okay. And while I'm reflecting, I will also talk about the structure that I was trying to induce in this interview. Okay. So let me share my screen. Let me know once you're able to see it. Are you able to see my screen?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So we started with examples. Okay. Now see, see, mostly you need to understand why am I giving you an ambiguous question. The reason I'm giving you an ambiguous question is because I want you to generate your own clarity. Okay. And you, in my opinion, right, first of all, congratulations for staying with me for so long. Okay. Because these interviews, especially the ambiguous problems, right, they can really hit you hard because you feel like, oh my God, where do I even start? Like, how do I even converge on a question so broad? Reflect on all of these, right? What is your favorite app? Improve it. My favorite app is, I don't know, WhatsApp. How do I improve it? How do I improve performance of WhatsApp? You own satellite data now, big business. They are very, very ambiguous questions. You don't know how to even begin, right? And I think so you were falling for it. That's what I thought because you said, Ari, oh, food market. I would like to consume the entire food market because you said, oh, Microsoft is big, therefore we'll consume the entire food market. But products are not built that way. You have to have a finite problem that you want to go and solve. You start small, then you grow big. You can't say that I want to go solve world hunger on day zero. Maybe your overarching objective is to solve world hunger, but you start small, right? You may have a very big vision, but you have to start small. Okay. So that is my first advice to you. And here is what you will realize, right? Because it's an ambiguous question, people fall for it. And that's why these are very tough questions. That's why I want to congratulate you for sticking in. You stayed, you never felt that, oh my God, what the heck is happening? Where do I even start? I'm like completely, am I even thinking straight, etc. You stayed there. But now let me provide you with a structure that can help you articulate this flow a little better. Okay? You asked me some clarifying questions. What you will realize in most of these ambiguous interviews is you ask me a clarifying question, I'll give it back to you. So you may ask, oh Sandeep, what's the objective? You decide. Sandeep, what's our market strategy? You decide. Sandeep, are we building a product? Yeah, sure, we are building a product. Sandeep, do you want me to look at supply chain? You decide. So you will see that as ambiguous the question is, I will leave the clarifying questions as ambiguous as possible because I want you to generate your clarity. So you may find your interview to asking you to assume to proceed. Okay, this is because I want to see whether you're able to make intelligent assumptions to proceed. How do you make these intelligent assumptions? I will tutor you. Okay. First step, as I said, you define your persona. I will take the WhatsApp example now. Okay. I'm improving the performance of WhatsApp. Now, immediately I say, oh, improve performance of WhatsApp. WhatsApp is used for chatting. चैटिंग में परफॉर्मेंस कैसे इंप्रूव करेंगे वीडियो में परफॉर्मेंस कैसे ना इट्स दैट्स द रॉन्ग वे ऑफ थिंकिंग बिकॉज वी स्टार्ट थिंकिंग फीचर्स फर्स्ट think about the people first who all are using WhatsApp. Now I'll just and I'm just making it up. I didn't think through this. WhatsApp is used by maybe two people. There is an interaction between two people, could be family, could be friends. There are groups, therefore there is a totally different conversation that happens when a group conversation happens. It's being used by retailers, vendors, by industries because there is WhatsApp Pay, there is WhatsApp Business, therefore there is a business angle to it. People are using it for chat and video calling, therefore there is an aspect of I should be able to connect with my loved ones when I'm doing a video call. So there's a concept of phone call and a video call. I'm here defining who all are the people who are using. I'm not even getting into the industry right now. In your case, it would have been perfectly all right for you to say food industry. Where does food start? Food starts with farmer. Then where does it go? It goes to trucks. Therefore, there is some supply chain. After the truck, it goes to mandi, which is some middle tier. After the mandi, maybe there are some either retailers pick up or some organizations pick up. Kisan picks up. You getting it? Like I'm just thinking people here. I'm not trying to solve the problem. I'm not trying to figure out what their problem may be. Okay? Because Kisan needs food and maybe some juice makers need food, right? They will need fruit, food, whatever the case may be. Think about the people first. Here, when you're looking personas, right, not just think about the consumers. Like you fell into the trap of chocolate. Chocolate is eaten by kids. Now, chocolate is not, if I'm saying food industry, it's not just the kid who's eating it. Cocoa, and remember I was pushing you there. Oh, it started with the farmer, went with the truck. From the truck, it went to a mandi. From mandi, it went to some cleanup. Cleanup went to manufacturing. Somebody added sugar. After it added, and all of this is made up. I don't know if somebody is a chocolate expert. Maybe they can tell me better. I've been making things up. And from there, it goes to a retail shop. Before retail, maybe it goes to a wholesale shop. From retail, it comes to a retail, etc., etc., etc. Right? So there is a complete value chain. Think value chain first. There are suppliers, partners, customers, users, so many things. Once you have done that, now this is very, very, very important. Huh? In an interview, you go broad on your personas. And how do you go broad on your personas is by visualizing the value chain. You're visualizing the value chain of the food being served on your plate. And that's where Menaka, when she said farm to fork, that's the entire value chain of food. It started from the farm, it ended upon your plate. Who all touched? Now, the reason I'm saying is you don't have to solve the entire problem in the value chain. You need to focus on, let's understand the value chain first. That's step 0. And that is very important. Why? Because imagine my predicament. My mindset is saying, is Sushmita creative enough to think about the entire value chain? So I'm looking at your creativity skills there. If you say I am going to solve the problem at the end of the value chain, then I will poke you. Why? Why not at the beginning? Why didn't you think farmers? So you are also showing to the interviewer that, guess what, interviewer, I can think broad. Now, after you've thought broad, you thought farmer, you thought manufacturing, you thought supply chain, you thought mandi, you thought wholesaler, you thought retailer, then you go deep. Pick one of them. You say, Sandeep, I will only solve the supply chain problem to begin with, and then I can focus on others. That shows your comfort and your creativity to go broad and then go deep. Breadth shows creativity. Depth is required for you to scope your interview. Otherwise, you'll be all over the place. And I call it the popcorn effect. Like you're popping like a popcorn. कि कभी यहाँ से आइडिया आया, कभी यहाँ से आइडिया आया, कभी यहाँ से आइडिया. I have said it multiple times in my all my conversations. I'm repeating it here. In an interview, first step is finding the right structure. We always think, oh, I have to give a kick-ass product. No, you will not be able to create a kick-ass product without having the right structure. Step 0, get the structure right. And this is the structure. Define the persona. From the persona, figure out where you want to go broad, figure out where you want to go deep. Both are required. Okay. Okay. Persona defined. Now I'm looking at Sushmita's example only. Let's say I'm looking at, let's say I took farmers because we delved deep into farmers. Okay. So I am saying, oh, this is the value chain, but I want to go deep into farmers. Where do you do? And this is a classic problem I've seen in a lot of interviews. I have the persona defined. Persona is farmer. Now I will identify the persona's problem. What is the farmer's problem? Wrong. We do not do that. Before we identify the farmer's problem, identify the farmer's journey. And that's what I was pushing you towards, Sushmita. That if you are solving the problem for a farmer, you can't just say farmer has a problem in irrigation. Farmer has a problem in putting the load of the content of the farm onto a truck. No. Again, you have to show same, go broad, go deep. How does broad mean? So you identified the persona, then you identify the persona's journey. And I think so I articulated that for you, that persona's journey is, I woke up. I literally tell this to everyone. If you've identified your persona, imagine that persona just woke up from the bed and how does his day look like or her day look like. Very, very important. There are two pivots that you should think through. There's a farmer who is a day 0 farmer and a farmer who's a day n farmer. What does that mean? As a day 0 farmer, my journey will be totally different. Day 0 is, I have a farm, nothing is growing. What does my journey look like? I have to go figure out, is my soil okay, not okay? Can I even I put something on my soil? Do I need to prepare my soil, not prepare my soil, etc. etc. Acha, ye ho gaya. Then what we discussed, right? I have to go find a seed. What is the seed? Should I pick up this seed versus that seed? Once I've picked up my seed, and I'm not articulating problems here. I'm not saying any of these are problems. Okay. One very, very important thing. As you are drawing this journey, draw this journey like this in block diagrams. That I have to pick up seed. I have to prepare my soil. After I prepare my soil, I have to sow the seed. After sowing the seed, I have to irrigate. Keep doing it. After irrigation, I have to cultivate. After cultivation, I have to, I don't know, harvest. उससे पहले शायद fertilizer आएगा and so on and so forth, right? Here you are identifying the journey. You are not even saying this guy has a problem in this phase. Very, very, very important, because again, if you see this, the aspect remains the same. I'm going broad. I'm going broad on the entire journey, and after going broad, I will go deep. And then you are allowed to pick up one of these. You can say, oh, you know what? I would love to solve the entire problem, but for the purpose of the interview, I want to just look at how is the farmer irrigating. Exactly what you picked up. Okay. Okay. Now let's Now you identify, and your answer is not any different. What matters is the structure. Because as a product manager, when you are solving these problems, if you do not have this structure, you may have picked up irrigation, but your customer has problems while sowing seeds. How do you know? You have to articulate the entire journey of the customer to figure out, bhaiya, problem kahan hai? Remember how I began? I began the session with saying, customers will come back and say, you know what, irrigation is a problem. How do you validate whether the problem is really in irrigation? Maybe the problem lies somewhere else. The problem is you are trying to irrigate a rice paddy on the wrong soil. You should have never grown rice on that soil. That's the worst soil for rice. Therefore, you're saying, oh, problem is with irrigation. I don't have enough water. Give me water. Now, the problem is you should have grown tomatoes. That's the problem. You cannot, and otherwise, if you listen to the farmer, what will happen? I'll make a great irrigation system for you because you have a problem with irrigation. नहीं भैया, problem tomatoes में है. Soil identification में था. If you don't understand the entire journey, and this is your real PM life, if you don't understand the entire journey, you will create a kick-ass irrigation system which will still not solve this problem. Get it? So that's why understanding the journey is critical. Once you understand the journey, you say, देखो भाई, problem यहाँ पे भी है, यहाँ पे भी, 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 but I am going to solve for irrigation. Because why are you picking irrigation? Why? Because your mind says, this is the only place that I can crack well. It's not that I'm fascinated by irrigation. So you have to work on your strengths. I always say this, in an interview, you lead the interview. Don't let the interviewer lead the interview for you. This is called leading the interview, and this is how I would say, Mr. Interviewer, a farmer's journey includes step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are problems in all 8 areas. But for the purpose of this interview, I'm going to focus only on irrigation so that I can scope on time, because time management is very important in interview, right? Otherwise, we will spend 40 minutes just trying to identify a problem. We don't want to do that. You don't want to start identifying problems in every area. खत्म ही नहीं होगा interview. चलो irrigation पे चलते हैं. Now you've identified the persona. You've identified the persona's journey. Now, where is my slide? In the persona's journey, do not think the problem. That's what I said. Think the journey. While you articulate the journey, identify the problems that you want to solve. You remember the block diagram I prepared? The reason I prepared that block diagram is, you remember every time a question is asked, you get 30 seconds to think. When you're building those block diagrams, start articulating problems in one of those spaces. Okay? When you are doing the persona's journey, don't think problems immediately. Draw the value chain, and then start going deep into the problems in one of those areas. Once you go deep on those problems, let's say irrigation is the area, right? But then you have to become creative. See, it's a constant juggling between going broad, going deep, going broad, going deep. Same thing we did for persona, same thing we'll do for persona's journey. Now I'm going deep on the problems. Here is where your creativity juices come. Where are you able to identify those problems? If irrigation is a problem, let's articulate the problems in irrigation. Irrigation, the problem is, how much water should I put? Have I put too much water? Should I be putting water or should I not be putting water? What if it rains tomorrow? Should I be putting water? What if it rained yesterday? Should I be putting water? What if the soil on the top looks good, but soil deep looks very, very moist? Then maybe I shouldn't be putting water. So see, I'm not an expert in irrigation at all, but this is the way you can think of possible problems. You're making up problems here. And then you say, oh, there are so many problems. Now let me go figure out how can Microsoft solve these problems. Okay. So your persona journey is done. You have mapped the problem to the journey. Are you able to identify problems that you wish to solve? Call these problems out. In irrigation, I narrated 5 problems. Great. Once you've identified the problems, while you are identifying the problems, see if you are having the ability to even prioritize these problems. Very important, because that will help you build your MVP. We never went there. Okay. Now that you have found the problem, now get into the solution. Now, when you are getting into the solution, very, very important. Think about the company you are interviewing with. If you're interviewing with Google, with Microsoft, versus you are interviewing with, I don't know, Caterpillar. The way Caterpillar, you know, right? The guys who make those heavy machinery. If Caterpillar is solving this problem, they will solve this problem totally differently. Maybe, I don't know. If Microsoft is solving this problem, Microsoft may solve it totally differently, right? Microsoft would love to deal with data, cloud, isn't it? Why? Because you are interviewing with Microsoft, you need to do that level of due diligence, right? If Microsoft is solving this problem with respect to irrigation, is Microsoft planning to spend money in drilling wells, tube wells, or is Microsoft going to spend money on technology? If you think Microsoft is going to spend money on technology, then see how technology can go solve this problem of irrigation. So let me make it up, again, not thought through. If irrigation is a problem, and we found that in irrigation there were 4 problems that we found, right? One problem was, when should I irrigate? How much should I irrigate? Should I irrigate? Is the rain happened? Is the rain happening? And the fourth one was, how much is the moisture level of the soil? Deep enough, top enough. And I'm taking this idea totally from Menaka and Nitin, I believe you said. Soil moisture sensors. Great. Microsoft will partner with an ecosystem partner to build soil moisture sensors. We will install soil moisture sensors. We will create an AIML model to tell where all the soil um, uh, moisture sensors be put on the farm. Farmer does not know. We will tell the farmer that this is exactly the position where you put the soil moisture sensors. We will integrate the data into cloud to tell which particular sprinkler you should turn on. Don't turn on all the sprinklers. Maybe you turn on 2 sprinklers out of 500 sprinklers that we have installed, because soil moisture in those 2 areas is low. Not only that, I'm going to fly a drone over the farm to figure out what is the amount of chlorophyll in my leaves. If the chlorophyll is high, maybe I don't need irrigation. Maybe if the chlorophyll is low, I need irrigation, right? Maybe I will integrate it with satellite data to figure out if tomorrow is going to rain. If it is going to rain, then I will alert the sensors not to turn on, because satellite data is telling me that tomorrow is going to rain. Or let's say if it has rained yesterday, therefore my sensors are on a pause. Because it rained yesterday, I have integrated again with meteorological data, and basically based on that I have told the sensors that bhaiya, it rained yesterday, so don't go in a scheduled task mode of turning on the sprinkler every 5 minutes. So you see, it becomes a data play instead of let's go uh, drill wells kind of problem. So it becomes a data type of problem. Again, it's not the, I always say, I'm not focusing on the creativity of the solution. I am focusing on the structure of you arriving at that solution. The structure is important. Now, once you've identified these solutions, right, see whether you are able to map them back to the problem that you identified. Because every time you utter a solution, your interview will ask why, why, why did you identify this? And this why is applicable for everything. That why will be for the problem also. Why do you think this is a problem? Which problem is more important? Which one do you want to focus on first, etc., etc., etc. Because the problem of getting sensor data into cloud is totally different from integrating sensor data with satellite data. Two totally different type of problems. Right? Now imagine satellite data, so difficult. Now, this is your creativity, right? If I'm integrating it with satellite data, what if it is a cloudy day? If it is cloudy, then maybe it's going to rain, maybe it's not going to rain. I can't get a good picture of the farmland. How will you tell what's happening in the farmland? Did it rain, not rain? Therefore, satellite data needs to talk to meteorological data. If there is a cloud cover, will it rain? What's the probability of rain? Then you need to do AIML on clouds to figure out whether it's going to rain. Do these clouds look like the ones that are going to rain or not? You see, the problem just gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper if you are able to think on your feet quickly. See whether your solution maps to the organization's products. Very important. Something that I said earlier, right? Are you building this product for Caterpillar, or are you building this product for Microsoft? Or are you building this product for, I don't know, Mahindra, who makes tractors? If I'm Mahindra, then I will put smart sensors, IoT devices in my tractors, so that when I'm running the tractor, I can take pictures of the land and again put it on cloud. So therefore, now as Microsoft, I'm doing some partnership with Mahindra or some other John Deere guys who make tractors, right? Does that make sense? So again, let's reiterate these 5 points very, very quickly. Very, very, very important. If you ask clarifying questions in such situations, in ambiguous questions, you will not get answers. You'll be lucky if you get answers, because the whole intent is how do you create clarity for yourself. You start with defining personas. When you define personas, go broad, go deep. Go broad shows your creativity. Go deep is important for you to scope the interview. Do not try to identify personas problems immediately. Try to identify personas journey. Once you identify personas journey, then try to go deep into the problems. Once you've identified the problem, map it to the journey. Very, very important. See how you are able to take notes so that you are able to communicate that effectively. Once you've done that, then identify solutions, map those solutions to the organization's strength. Otherwise, and unbelievable interviews go when people say, you know what, hey, you know what, I'm going to use Microsoft Cloud for this, or guess what, I'm going to integrate it with Microsoft Teams, or you know what, when a farmer opens an Edge browser on his laptop, I will be able to show on a side panel everything or all alerts with respect to his own farm. Maybe I'm going to picture his farm and put it on the Edge browser so that he does not even need to log in anywhere. It's on the Edge browser for him. And this is where we can get creative, right? Like we know what Microsoft products are, and therefore we have to now integrate those solutions back to Microsoft products. If you don't want to do that, absolutely all right. You're creating a new app or a new web page or whatever you want to create. Once you have done that, I never asked you this question, Sushmita. How do you measure success? Great, you've built an irrigation system.
Yeah.
Let's assume this was the irrigation system which has 500 sprinklers. Two turn on sometime, three turn on sometime, sometimes none of them turn on, sometimes all of them turn on. How will you measure success? For this product called automated irrigation system, right? You have to be very clear. Now, when you say measure success, right, always remember, you will find a billion blogs on internet and a billion videos on internet. Very simply put, success is two types, product and business. आपको पैसा आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है, आपको मार्केट शेयर आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा है, your revenue is there or not there is all your business. A lot of times when people ask you how do you measure success, people talk about product metrics only. I will acquire, I will grow, I will engage, I will do this, I will do that. Great, सब कुछ कर रहे हो, end goal क्या है? Why are you doing it?
How many products are being produced and how many are being sold?
Products are being produced. No, for example, in this irrigation system, there
Yeah.
are not a lot of products, right? There's just one product called irrigation system, automated irrigation system. How do you check the product metric? Product metric is one that impacts your customer's life. How are you impacting your customer's life meaningfully? I would like, I'm just making it up. Huh? My product metric would be, and I don't know whether it's even measurable, but I will just say it out loud. Did my farmer have to irrigate the land even once? If not, great, product is doing great. I don't know how to measure it, but we'll figure it out. Maybe it's a qualitative metric. Second is, did I increase the yield of the farmer by means of effective irrigation? Three, did I save water for him? Right? Did he spend more time with his family or doing other things like what you said, right? If I made an automated irrigation system, maybe farmers should do something else and not worry about irrigation at all. But at the end of it, what is in it for me? What am I getting? Why should Microsoft even build this product called automated irrigation system? What do I get? Is it revenue? Is it market share? Is it goodwill? Is it CSR? Why did I do this? That has to be there. Your business metrics have to be there as well. So think of it from that perspective. So that's why I said all products should have customer value and business value. Because all products have customer value and business value, therefore there are customer metrics and business metrics. So try to think that way. That's the structure in which you should think. Again, I'm not giving you answers. I'm giving you the structure. This question will be asked. How do you measure success? Once you've measured success, you have to prioritize. Why do I have an Iron Man suit here? This is the best example of prioritization. What did Iron Man build in the very first movie is a classic MVP. An MVP that was set to destroy immediately after it was used. And it did its work well, right? So you may be asked to prioritize. Therefore, think about MVP even at this stage when you're identifying your solution. Okay, so generally how I would do it is, if you're writing down your solution, and our solution was this, right? Satellite data integration, meteorological department integration, automated scheduling of sprinklers. What else? I can't even think. Write down which one is P0. P0 means first, or write down 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 against each feature so that you are able to make up your mind that if I am recommending this feature, will this be the first feature I build, the second feature I build, the third feature I build? Stack rank it and put it as 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That is enough. Don't do 3. Which means 1 is something that is necessary to be built on day 0. 2 can come later. For example, in this case, I don't know the importance of integrating all of this with satellite data on day 0. I may not do it. Maybe what I would do is exactly what Sushmita said, that I have sprinklers, they are smart enough with soil moisture sensors day 0 feature. If I can get soil moisture data, then I know how much is the moisture, therefore I will turn on the sprinkler or not turn on the sprinkler. So two things I will do, automated sprinklers plus soil moisture data. That's it. That's my MVP. Nothing else. Integration with the meteorological department will come later. Integration with satellite data will come later. Fixing the problem of cloud cover will come later, etc., etc., etc. Right? So you have your 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 against all the features that you feel are important. One very, 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 very important thing with respect to MVP is that MVP should complete the scenario for all your personas. In this case, the persona was only a farmer. But imagine, had I taken a supply chain type of use case, your persona would be the farmer, the truck company, the mandi. There are 3 people getting involved. Does your MVP cover all 3? Does it help the trucker? Does it help the mandi people? Does it help the farmer? So when you are thinking MVP, always think whether your solution caters to all personas. It can't cater to only one persona. And I'll give you a very small example here. You've A lot of people would have seen that example of a car where wheels and engine and the body together need to be uh, uh, called in to make a complete product, right? You can't just ship wheels, you can't just ship a steering wheel, you can't just ship headlights, right? And that is what I call as your scenario should be complete. It should be a vehicle that runs. You can't ship only wheels as a product. It will satisfy the need of a child who needs to roll the field, but does not satisfy the need of a family who needs to sit in the car and drive. So think about that. Last, any question for me? A lot of people feel that any question for me is, as Sushmita you did, a summary of the interview. It's not that. It's very important for you to do your homework with respect to the organization to understand whether you have any question for the organization. See, because it's a barter system. As much as you want the organization wants you as well. While the organization is recruiting you, you are also recruiting the organization at the same time. This is very important for you to clarify anything that you have in your mind. Don't consider your interview over until this question is asked. I've had some people answer great questions, ask great questions to me on this last question, that do you have any questions for me? Don't ask questions which are available on the internet. Don't ask Windows का next release कब आ रहा है. Don't ask when is the next edge coming. Don't do that. Okay, why? Because you can find that information on the internet. Don't ask things like, hey, why do you think Nokia failed? Because if I even give you the answer of why Nokia failed, is that a question important for you to get hired into Microsoft? Your mindset here should be, this question is important for me to make a call whether I want to join this organization or not. Think from that perspective. It's not just ask me any question. Okay, a lot of people, the weirdest question I got was, hey Sandeep, my phone is not working, where is the nearest contact center? And I searched for a contact center and gave it to him. But the thing is, how is that going to help you join Microsoft? Right? So be careful when you're even asking this question. This is your moment to ask whether you feel this organization is worth my time. And interviewers look for that question. Are you thinking that way or not? Okay, so this is important. This is not the end of the interview. Do your research before asking questions. Search the internet and then ask questions. Okay, I'm going to take a quick pause here and I'm going to open it up for questions. But while I'm opening up for questions, you all know I always give homework at the end of our session. These are our 4 questions that we began with. I invite all of you to make a 6 slider, and that 6 slides should contain all these 5 aspects that I just mentioned. One very important thing, when you're preparing these 6 slides, right? If you are planning to use pen and paper in your interview, spend 30 minutes solving each of these questions. Use pen and paper. don't use technology if you're not planning to use technology while giving your interview. Use pen and paper. That will make sure that the way you take notes becomes clearer, because at times if notes are not clear, it's very difficult for you to articulate what you want to tell in your interview. Make clear notes, take a picture of that note, put it in the slide, and then share it back with me. Okay, where will you share? You will share it on this WhatsApp channel. For those who are new, please join this WhatsApp group and share your homework there. A lot of us are already part of that, so wherever homeworks come, I review them. Otherwise, you can join Medium, YouTube, and LinkedIn to see anything that is happening on the product front. I'm going to take a pause here, and I'm going to go back to any Q&A that you have for me, and I'm going to stop presenting.
I have a question. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity for the interview. So here actually, as you said, firstly we have to identify the persona and then get into the breadth and depth. So here, as I told, my solution is mainly that we are considering the quality and have built the automated irrigation system for the farmer. And then after that, we are directly like making an app and directly taking it to the end customers. Like we're just, I mean, breaking down all of the supply chain and directly we are buying, I mean, from the farmers, we are taking it to the customer, right? So we have two personas here. One is the end customers who are buying through our app and the farmer. So it's basically that we are ensuring the quality from the farmer by building an automated system for him, and then we are sending it directly to the customers is what my solution for the food market. So here we have two types of personas here. So can we have multiple personas like this or only focus on one persona?
Oh, you will have multiple personas. 99% of the time in your interview, you will have multiple personas.
Okay.
Yep. Like you just see, right? Had you selected supply chain? Supply chain needed multiple personas, right? Because supply chain, by virtue of supply chain, means there is somebody on the supply side, there is somebody on the demand side, and then there's somebody who's bridging the gap. If you think marketplace type of solutions, Amazon has three personas: the buyer, the seller, and the platform. If you think any marketplace, it will have three personas. If you think social media platforms have multiple personas. It's the person who's posting, it's the business who's trying to influence, and the platform itself. So more often than not, in your interview, you will encounter multiple personas. In Microsoft, like if you're interviewing with Microsoft, with Google, with Amazon, etc., etc., remember, Microsoft does not only work for its customers, Microsoft also works for its partners. Same with Google and Microsoft. Any Google, Microsoft, Amazon question by default has two personas: customer and partner. Who is my partner? Who's Microsoft's partner? Take any product, Azure. There are so many ISVs that build products on top of Azure. And I think so, there are some stats which say that for every dollar that Microsoft makes, $8 are made by our partners. So therefore, we need to be true to our partners. If our partners fail, we fail, right? Same thing. Take any product, Xbox, take Bing. Bing has Bing advertisement. So then there is a partner there as well. So almost all products have a user, customer, and partner journey. Think of it that way. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. But here it's like pharma is a customer as well as a partner here. It's both. Because once we are just launching this, we are delivering his products to the end customer. He's a partner over there. And he's a customer when we are supplying the automated irrigation system. So
See, I'm sorry, I wrote farmer. This is a homework. Huh? I was thinking farmer. So,
okay.
see, Sushmita, when you are saying that farmer is my user and my customer, right? I'm not going into the detail of this particular question. I'm just saying you to be aware of the fact that there are so many use cases where your user and customer will be different. Take Byju's, for example, right? Who's the user? Child. Who's the customer? The parent. Parent is never going to sit in front of the screen and see and learn. The user is the child. So therefore, the product has to be user friendly. But the customer is somebody else. And therefore, your product needs to, and therefore, if you see, all marketing is done for the customer. Byju's never advertise it for its users, right? Byju says, oh, if your child is not there, therefore something is going to happen. Isn't it? They advertise for the customer, but they don't say, oh, this is the best platform and best interactive platform. Actually, they do say it because my user's interest is in my mind, right? As a parent, I need to know if my platform is good for my child. So they are advertising both from a customer and the user's perspective. So I have some more questions. Oh my God, there are so many hands raised. I didn't see. I'm so sorry. I was busy looking at my notes. Nikhil, why don't you ask your next question?
Yeah,
Yeah, Nikhil, please go ahead.
sure. So I had one question. Let's suppose you are an interviewer and I am the candidate who is giving an interview. So the two things are equally important. One is to follow that structure and end up to the solution, because we have around 45-50 minutes to come on to the solution, right? And second thing is, while I am giving the answers or I am stating some things, let's say Sushmita has imposed on chocolates. So you dig down into the chocolates and you have followed some other path, means you have gone deep into that. But what if I want to be focused on all the points which I am trying to do? So here two things comes. One is I want to complete my interview on time and I want to follow all the steps. Second is your question on that is taking something apart from the time slab and something apart from what I'm trying to do. So how to mitigate those things?
So I'm just going to reiterate the question. Your question is around time management of the interview, especially from the perspective of the you are thinking something else in the mind, and the person who's taking your interview may ask you a totally random question. So how do you do time management? Is that the question? Like, how do you do time management in an interview?
Yeah.
Acha. So uh, actually, I invite you to watch some of the mock interviews that I have taken. In those mock interviews, what you would realize is when I'm giving feedback, right, I also tell them that you've taken too much time on this particular aspect. So
Yes.
in less than 10 minutes, you should be on your problem, crisply articulated problem. Okay. And I'm saying 10 minutes after introductions. At times introductions take 5-10 minutes, etc., etc. So 10 minutes of, let's say 5 minutes of introduction is gone, then within 10 minutes come to your problem statement. And how do you come to your problem statement? You've identified the personas, you've gone broad, gone deep, identified the journey, and now you're at the problem space where you're able to say, hey, this is the problem. Because after spending those 10 to 15 minutes on the problem, you need at least 10 minutes on the solution as well.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
typically within 20-25 minutes, your solution should be over, because you have to give the interviewer also time to ask you more questions. अब हो
Exactly.
सकता है interview may change your persona completely. Like what if I suddenly ask Sushmita, hey Sushmita, guess what? How do you build this automated irrigation system for blind farmers?
Yeah.
Right? Then what does Sushmita do? So I am going to ask those questions because I want to see Sushmita's creativity throughout the interview. So you have to give me that time. Okay. And there will be questions around how do you measure success? How do you prioritize? I didn't ask how do you draw a technical architecture diagram for this automated farming system? Right? There will be these questions as well. So typically my humble request is within 20 minutes after introductions, your solution should be over.
Okay.
And
So
then
meanwhile,
all these auxiliary questions can come.
yeah.
Yes, Sandeep,
Although you
sorry to jump in.
Yes.
So if I can figure out that my hypothesis or the solution that I'm currently explaining during the interview, if it goes well, if it goes fail from my perspective, can I reiterate during the interview process?
Yeah. So Virendra,
Is
I've
that
heard your
allowed?
question. I just want to make sure that Nikhil is complete with what he asked, and I'll come back to you. Nikhil, did I answer your question? Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I got that. So
Okay,
mitigate. We have to take care of everything, but being in a time, that should we do?
perfect. Virendra, to answer your question, right, you're absolutely right.
Uh,
So
sorry,
many
Sandeep.
times, yeah.
Sorry, Sandeep, for jumping in. That was not my question. Somebody else jumped in, actually.
Oh,
That was
Virendra, that was not you. Who asked that
that was
question?
not me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Virendra.
It's me, Sandeep, Manoj.
Okay, Manoj. Um, okay, Manoj, I'll take your question first. Huh? So your question was, what if my hypothesis went one way? Like it happened today, right? Sushmita went on chocolates, and then we figured out, oh, chocolates में problems नहीं मिल रहे हैं. Then I asked her to rethink, and she went back. Sushmita, you could have done that. Let's assume you said, oh, I want to go down the chocolate route, huh? And you thought that I'll be able to find problems, and you figured out that I narrated the entire user journey of chocolates, and you know what? Hey, sorry, Sandeep. You know what? I am at a stage where I can articulate the user journey, but I'm not able to narrow down on problems. Let me go back and think again. Okay. Rather, this going back and thinking again is very much appreciated in interviews, because this shows that you have your intellectual horsepower to self-reflect in that short duration of an interview. At times, no, this is an extreme case. Another case could be, I asked you a question, okay, and let's say I say, I don't know, make a lift for blind, huh? And you totally forgot about Braille. You built, and this happens, huh? Make a lift for blind, and you're thinking, hey, voice, and etc., etc., and maybe there is biometrics, etc. And guess what? Voice biometrics is expensive. And then I'll ask you, what is your MVP? And then MVP के time पे Braille याद आएगा. And it's perfectly all right for you to say, hey, you know what, Sandeep, completely goofed up. I should have thought about Braille even when I was articulating my solution. I would love to articulate Braille as one of my MVP solutions. Right? It's absolutely okay. This shows your ability to reflect, ability to have growth mindset and not get bogged down by an interview going south. And third, your ability to have an intellectual horsepower to accept something not going right. This is very much respected in an interview. Did I answer your question, Manoj?
Yeah. Thanks, Sandeep. Great.
Virendra, why don't you go next?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sandeep, for giving me the opportunity. Sandeep, I had two questions actually.
Yes.
We kind of parked the intelligent assumptions part for later. Okay, because again, these are assumptions, so it can vary from perspective to perspective.
Correct.
So I just wanted to understand what is intelligent assumption from your side. And the thing is there, you told about the importance of going broad and going deep as well. So I believe like going deep in one persona rather than going for the fully developed product or at least the MVP, would it be in the interest of time and would it be in the interest of the someone who is not really having much of the information in that particular user persona? So will that be helpful? And sorry, one more question. Like is in this whole step, can we incorporate go-to-market strategy between measuring success and prioritization of MVP? So three questions are there, Sandeep.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I didn't write. I will answer your go-to-market strategy first. In the meanwhile, can you type the other two questions? I have
Sure.
a fair idea what you asked. Okay, but let me answer go-to-market first. Go-to-market strategy questions will be asked, and they will be asked explicitly. You'll be told what is your go-to-market strategy. There may be a moment when you can post that question saying, do you want me to deep dive into a go-to-market strategy? If not, then don't go there. Remember that these are not, when you are interviewing for a product management interview, these are not process improvement questions. These are not let's invest more in marketing type of questions. Okay, for that we will go to B schools and higher. We are really looking at people who understand product well and are able to build product capabilities well. Okay, so go-to-market strategy will be asked because product managers are responsible for go-to-market strategy. But you should ask, like, do you want me to explicitly go into go-to-market strategy? If that is your strength and you can explore there. For senior roles, where you're getting into senior leadership roles in product management cadre, you will be asked GTM strategy questions because you own the product. You own the product not only it's in its inception stage, your go-to-market strategy will define the success of your product. So you are responsible for GTM, you're responsible for P&L and ROI of the product, the profit and loss and the return on investment of your product. So you may be asked questions there. Okay? But we will talk about this later, about GTM, etc. What are intelligent assumptions according to you? Very simple. See, when I'm saying assumptions, right? I'll give you a small example. I say that I didn't ask this to Sushmita, but I'll still ask. I said, Sushmita, what, according to you, how big is the food industry? Can you put a dollar amount to it? how do you come to that answer? Sushmita, I'm not asking you this question, so don't bother.
Okay.
Now, if I
No
suddenly
issues,
ask this
yeah.
question, how will you think through it? Like you need to really make some intelligent assumptions. So first of all, do you want to solve this problem worldwide, or do you want to solve this problem for India? Like you have to start making those assumptions on the fly. Oh, there are 7 billion people. 7 billion people consume so much. If they consume so much, maybe they are acquiring so much, and therefore, you come to some kind of funnel. Maybe you start with India, or maybe you even start with a small city and say, if I can do it for one city, maybe I'll extrapolate further. Various ways to do it. So you have to assume smartly in order to be able to answer correctly. And you should be at least thorough with some numbers, right? For example, if I say that, oh, Sushmita, what do you think? And these questions are asked, by the way.
Yeah.
I am a taxi service company and I want to launch in Bangalore. What is the market size? Now you can say, oh, Bangalore population is 1 billion people. And from there I'll go, no, your assumption is gone wrong. Kahan 1 billion people hai Bangalore? Or you can say, oh, let's assume Bangalore has 1 million people. I don't know whether Bangalore has 1 million people. I think so it's around 8 to 9 million. But then you have to have those smarter assumptions in your mind so that you are able to conclude and you play to your strengths. When I'm saying ride hailing app, if you know the population of Delhi, you freaking start with Delhi. Why are you trying to solve world hunger? Don't go to what's the population of Ukraine. Think about population of Delhi and then go down. Does that make sense? So those are intelligent assumptions, which means play to your strength and then extrapolate further. Did I answer your question?
Yes, Sandeep. I think there is one pending. I've just posted it in the chat.
I'm going to that. Okay.
Yeah,
so can I go deep in one user persona and finish it end to end rather than solutioning MVP for all users? Actually, if that was not clear, this is exactly what I'm saying. This is what is called leading your own interview. Let's take this example. जो अभी हमने बोला ना, farmer वाला example. In farmer example, if you see, the food industry had farmer, trucker, mandi, processor, storage, kirana shop, wholesaler, retailer, organizations who are buying food. There were 15 personas. Sushmita chose farmer. She went broad and then she went deep. She chose one persona. Now within farmer, getting up from bed, finding the seed, preparing the soil, harvesting, irrigating, fertilizing, putting the stuff on truck, getting payments. She could have said, forget everything. I'll solve the payment gateway problem for farmer. Again, she went broad and then she went deep on one. And if your interviewer is concerned, right, he'll say, no, irrigation problem chodo. Solve the payment gateway problem for me. And be prepared for it. That can also happen. But the point is, when you go broad and when you go deep, right, you are the one controlling your interview. You are saying, I want to go broad, I want to go deep in here, and the conversation may sound like this. My farmer's journey starts from getting up from the bed, blah, 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 blah. You know what? And in my mind, what's going on is, अबे irrigation में क्या problem आती है, irrigation में ये problem आती है, I think so irrigation में मैं technology लगा सकता हूँ, great. हाँ, I want to go deep in irrigation. Would you like me to proceed? Sure. Let's go irrigation and then you go solve problems with respect to irrigation. But in an interview, this is what you do. In real life, also you do this as a product manager. When I am dealing with a customer, as I said earlier, if I listen to my customer, I will be trying to focus on irrigation problems with rice paddy, while the problem is tomatoes. So even in real life in Microsoft, I build the entire user journey. I understand the entire user journey of the customer. And then I try to figure out where the problem lies. I need to know +2 and -2 of the user's journey in order to be able to articulate the problem well. And then we get into the solution. So your interview is not much different from real life product management as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, Sandeep. So we can actually go deep and basis where I feel strong, because in these cases the problem statement is very vague. So actually I should put hold on to something that is I feel very strong in actually, and then go deep into that. Yeah. Thank you, Sandeep. That helps. Thank you so much.
So I know Menika's hand is raised. Menika, please go ahead.
Yeah. Sandeep, I have a very basic question actually.
Yes.
So when I saw the 5 scenarios that you had given as examples, so out of the 5, I thought like I have enough background knowledge about 4 of them, like WhatsApp. I could have taken it up, like farm to, like even the food industry, I could have narrowed it down, put and I'm able to apply some structure while we are, the structure that you're referring. Then there is this one scenario, and I'm just imagining, like putting myself in the position in an interview scenario, that the interviewer asked a very specific scenario about, say, satellite data.
Yes.
And so immediately when I think about satellite data, there was very limited, background information for me to apply a structure, come to a problem statement, identify the personas, because I just like, when I immediately thought about satellite data, I thought about satellite imagery, using it to create maps and something like that. But I also felt I was very inadequate about the amount of background knowledge I have to give a very, creating that value chain, journey and all of that. When you encounter a question where you are not having, that basic or that necessary background knowledge to, take that interviewer and yourself through that journey, what are there any strategies or inputs you have to give there?
Yes. This structure is that strategy. Menika, let me work with you on this right away. In next 2 minutes, you will solve the satellite data problem like a pro. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay. You said satellite data imagery is the problem. Menika, where all do you need imagery? In what all industries do you need imagery from satellites? Tell me 4 industries.
Okay. One is mapping industry,
Yes.
who create maps.
Yes.
Second is meteorological department, who
Yes.
work with data,
Absolutely.
weather and all that.
Absolutely.
Government organizations, which will say for disaster relief. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is
One more.
one, because
Yes.
like inundation of water and all will be useful for
Yes.
government bodies.
Yes.
Apart from that, satellite, even infrastructure related, urban planning, uh,
Yes.
those kind of government bodies could
Yes.
be one of them. So
Yes.
yeah,
Any other that comes to your mind?
commercial business. So most of them I have given are like more like government organizations, except
Yep.
for the mapping one. I'm
Yep.
looking for more business oriented organizations. Mining, like identifying oil wells,
Yes.
those kind of industries will also require to work with satellite imageries.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Absolutely. I will add 2 more: agriculture and travel.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
ठीक है 7 हो गया military
Hmm.
great Anirban is saying
Uh,
military yes absolutely war
yeah,
is going
yeah.
on 7 8 हो
Hmm.
गया
Hmm.
you have gone broad on the customer personas which in this
Hmm.
case is not the user but the industry.
Hmm.
Now pick one and guess what we will pick agriculture because we
Yeah.
spent 1.5 hours doing agriculture and we just
Okay.
solved agriculture related problems right and I said
Okay.
oh let me go down on agriculture. In agriculture I think so the farmer's journey is blah 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 where he needs a satellite
Okay.
data for harvesting for
Hmm.
figuring
Hmm.
out the growth of the crop figuring out
Hmm.
irrigation. Great we will make a smart irrigation system.
Hmm.
हो गया 2 मिनट में
Okay.
solve कर दिया.
Okay. So that's what I wanted to understand. Like, how do you pivot it to, more towards your strength, like, leading that conversation to play to your strength. Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. Okay.
So, and
Yeah.
that's why, you know what, I'll tell
Huh.
you, it's a very smart strategy. When you go broad, right? Go
Hmm.
broad is the moment when you're thinking wild, huh? You're
Hmm.
not, you're not trying to restrict yourself at that moment. That is also giving
Hmm.
you a breathing space to figure out where do you want to go deep. Somebody has
Hmm.
zero idea about military. Arey, why do transportation? I have no idea. Oh, travel and leisure. Make my trip. Sure, I can go deep in travel and leisure because
Hmm.
make my trip came to my mind, right?
Hmm.
And then I will
Hmm.
go, oh, let's figure out in travel and leisure, I want to now look at make my trips use case. And
Hmm.
this is called go broad. And then you've picked a
Hmm.
very specific use case in travel and leisure and said, मैं तो make my trip ही solve करूंगी. And then you're
Hmm.
also saying, is that okay with you? Can I go deep on
Hmm.
that aspect?
Hmm.
And the individual, sure, absolutely makes sense. Now go deep. Now what you've done is completely changed the imagery. And I said satellite data, maybe you're saying weather data आ गया अब तो. I just made it up. Make my trip needs weather data. Why does make my trip need weather data? Is your travel happening, not happening? Should you fly? Should you not fly? हो गया, पूरा problem solve कर दिया आपने. You will ship weather APIs.
Okay, got it.
Same structure will work. I'm telling you, these super ambiguous problems in interview are exactly identical to the super ambiguous problems that all PMs face in everyday life. This is the structure I apply in my workplace. And I just realized somebody from my team was on this call, and he just dropped off, which I had no idea about. And he would vouch for it that this is exactly what we do even in our daily life. This is what works.
Okay, sounds right. Yeah,
Okay.
cool. Yeah.
I know Viresh had his hand up and it went down. So Viresh, do you have a question?
My question was partially answered, but maybe you can add something more, Sandeep. So my question was, in the MVP, you said we have to touch all personas, okay? And so my understanding is that maybe we can still probably have an MVP which is only for 2 personas out of the total 4 personas we plan to cover in the final product. We want to go small on the MVP, so we want to start with a smaller version, get some revenue, and then have a step-by-step approach in the in the roadmap, and then plan more and more increment. So that is what I was thinking.
What a great question, Viresh. Had you not asked this, right? I just realized the way I said it would have been interpreted incorrectly. Thank you for asking this question. So let me re-clarify what I meant. Let's say now in Sushmita's case, she took a persona where there was a single user persona, which is absolutely all right. Let's say I choose a supply chain use case, right? Because supply chain has 3 people involved: the farmer, the mandi, and the trucker. Okay. When we are trying to build an MVP, try to see if your MVP solves the problem of the personas across, which means your scenario needs to be end-to-end complete. Okay. For those who attended my Saturday session or saw the recording, I will give you a small example. We were trying to solve a problem called, I want to help my YouTube video monetize fast. That was the problem. Okay. Therefore, who will be monetizing? The creator. Who is viewing the YouTube video? The viewer. And now when the viewer is viewing, the viewer is also acting as a patron who's paying. Okay. When I build an MVP and these 3 personas are involved as a triangle, the basic scenario across all 3 personas should be solved. We can't leave one persona scenario hanging dry if our product has to touch all 3. Otherwise, the value is incomplete. It does not mean that every single persona should have something meaningful coming out of it. I'm not sure whether I'm making sense here. Wait, let me take a step back. What I'm trying to say here is, let me ask you this, Lisa. Can Amazon be what it is if it only focuses on suppliers or if it only focuses on consumers? It needs to draw that triangle between the consumer, the supplier, and the platform. So a well-articulated answer in an interview could be one which touches upon all 3. You can always say that, you know what, as part of my H1, which is my initial investments, I want to put all my energies to make the supplier's journey better, and then I will focus on the consumer's journey. Absolutely all right for you to say it. But I'm just saying a well-grounded MVP could be one that touches all personas. And again, this is very interview specific what I'm saying. And the reason I'm saying it is, when we are focusing on interviews like Microsoft, etc., right? When Microsoft builds products, even though it is an MVP, we will try to have a customer and a partner hand in hand. Like, we don't think that let's build something for the customers and partners will come. Neither do we think let's build something for the partners and customers will come. We try to keep both of them hand in hand, even in our MVP. So I'm saying, when you're thinking, especially with these FANG companies, right, you will realize that that aspect is ingrained in the organization's culture. Therefore, it may help. That's what I meant.
Got it.
Yeah, but it's perfectly all right for you to take one stance over the other and say, you know what, I'm making a marketplace. Let me make a kick-ass marketplace for my consumer. Suppliers will come. Perfectly all right to say that. But then substantiate it with a why. Why do you think that way? Very obvious question will happen. So I see two more hands raised. Huh? Wait a minute. Sorry, I have to go back to that view.
Adding to Viresh's question. Yeah.
Yes, Prashmita.
No, adding to Viresh's point, as we have considered on my example. So here in my example, we have two personas. Like one is the farmer and the end user, because after the farmer's product is ready, we are selling it directly to the users. So the MVP for the product, I mean, the user and the farmer is different. So do we
Now, but
have multiple
Sushmita,
MVPs here?
you have to think through that way. Huh? When you're making a smart irrigation system, the end user may get benefited if you're starting to build a farm to fork type of capability where there's traceability of food. But the fact that you made a smart irrigation system, there is a tertiary user. What's the impact of the user? Maybe the cost of tomatoes is cheap, right? Because I
It's
use less water.
quality as well. The quality, I mean.
Quality is good. But it's too far down in your value chain for you to attribute that value into your product. I agree. Your objective is absolutely right. Your objective is I want to ship great quality tomatoes to my consumer by making my farmer's life easier. Your objective is spot on. And maybe you do an NPS or a net promoter score with your consumer saying, हमारे farm के tomatoes कैसे हैं? And you say, अरे amazing है. Therefore, it's a great success. So I agree with you that there are two personas and your end goal will be with the user to say, great tomatoes come from Sushmita's farms.
So, but the MVPs would be different for different personas here, because like
Totally.
farmers as well as users here. But
Totally.
just that we are promoting our irrigation system to the customers as well, that humne like we made a good irrigation system so that we're producing great quality. So that's how we are positioning our products.
Yeah, but Sushmita, what I'm trying to say is when you've built a smart irrigation system, tomato as a product will be consumed by the user. The smart irrigation system will be used by the farmer. The end user, the consumer of the tomato will not come and use your smart irrigation system, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The end user is too far in the value chain for him or her to be involved in the smart irrigation system. His or her involvement is great tomatoes. But does he care whether the irrigation system was smart or not smart? I don't know.
Oh,
Think of it that way.
true.
Okay. Maybe, and then therefore, like going with that argument, you can even say supply chain guy is my consumer, because smart irrigation system means stronger tomatoes. Stronger tomatoes means you don't need to pack them so hard. You don't need to pack them so hard means truck में अच्छे से rack हो जाते हैं. Sure, he's a tertiary consumer of your smart irrigation system. But is he the guy who's paying you or using your product? No. ठीक है, ये वही बात हो गया कि बाईजूस का बेनिफिट इंडिया को होगा, भाई क्योंकि बच्चे स्मार्ट निकलेंगे. But that's too far in the value chain. Main customer and consumer is user and parent. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Amrit, you have a question, is it?
Yeah, hi Sandeep. Sandeep, my question is basically there are two sets of questions, right? One is like maybe design X for Y, like design Uber for blind, design this for that kind of user. Another is more like a strategy question, like should like this one which was being answered, that should Microsoft enter into food, right? So and then it kind of delved into more like a design question, and towards the end we tied it back to strengths of Microsoft. My question is that uh, when should that fall into your structure? Should we talk about Microsoft first? Okay, this is what Microsoft is, these are its customers, these are its strengths, or and basically when you're picking up a particular customer or you're picking a particular value chain, you want to identify that gap which exists today mapped with company strengths and what competition is over there. So I'm just trying to understand that how will a design approach like design X for Y will be different in a strategy question.
Totally understand. So let me take a step back. Design Uber for blind is a super non-ambiguous question. Uber भी पता है
Okay,
and customer भी पता है.
got it. Yes, yes.
Right? It's a super clear question. It is testing your design thinking capabilities. It is not trying to address how do you create clarity.
Okay.
Why? Because I told you
Understood.
Uber and I told you blind also. I told you the customer persona so clearly and I told you the product so clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you get design Uber for blind, first just jump with joy. Why? Because the interviewer has told you. And there are so many such questions, right? Like design a mobile phone for old people. Or let's say build an elevator for 100-floor building. Great, elevator बनाना है, product भी clear है, एक तरह का persona भी clear है कि elevator बड़ी building के लिए बनाना है, बड़ी building कुछ भी हो सकता है ना, hospital हो सकता है, ये भी हो सकता है, वो भी हो सकता है. But the thing is, these are not questions where you need to create such tremendous amount of clarity. For example, when I'm saying design Uber for blind, you will not go the route of, oh, who's my customer persona? My customer persona is blind person. You will immediately jump into the journey of the blind person. Structure still remains the same, but you will not spend 3 minutes trying to figure out the customer personas. Your customer persona is given to you. Okay, so that's a design thinking question. Here I'm particularly talking about questions which are unbelievably ambiguous. There are very few. You don't get many, but if you get, don't get hassled. A lot of times it happens. I can tell you so many times when I give you these questions, right? Suddenly at the spur of the moment, and you ask me leading question, and I say assume, you assume, you assume, you assume. People get completely rattled in these questions because they don't know. Abe start kahan se karu? And these interviews are ones where people come out of this interview and say बहुत गंदा इंटरव्यू था यार, बहुत गंदा बेकार इंटरव्यूअर था, कुछ बता ही नहीं रहा था. He was not helping me at all because the intent is different. Intent is to create clarity. Okay. Again, I want to clarify. This is not a strategy question. This is not a B school strategy question. It's very much a product question. If your answer here is, I will, that's why I said, if your answer could be, I will improve the process. I will improve marketing and strategy, and I'll invest more money there. That's a B school question. If you're in a product company, they're not asking you for strategy, and you will see that happening. As soon as you go there, now your interview will pull you back. No, don't go there. Don't try to solve the problem for customer whatever support. It is not a customer support problem. This is a product problem. What product will you build? Okay. By the way, when I said design Uber for blind is a design thinking problem, this particular question is also a design thinking problem. The same structure you would apply for design Uber for blind. Same structure. It's just that you will spend less time on customer personas. You will still spend a lot of time on customer's journey. You will still spend a lot of time on the after the journey, where are the problems from an Uber perspective. Okay, but the thing is that like I was answering, whom was I answering? I think so I was answering Nikhil, and I said at least by 20 minutes get to your solution. In a design Uber for blind, in 15 minutes or maybe 10 minutes you should come with a problem statement and another 5 minutes to the solution, because everything is given to you in a platter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You had a second question, which was a very important question. You said, should I think about strengths of Microsoft while I'm even thinking about my problem statement? You got me thinking, honestly. I was doing it unconsciously. Okay. When I went to, like when I was trying to answer the problem for WhatsApp, right? I'll tell you, when I was supposed to improve performance of WhatsApp, I would have taken, it's a mix of two. Okay. Let me reflect on the way I was thinking. If I were given this problem of improve the performance of WhatsApp, I would have picked up WhatsApp Pay. You know why? Because I understand payment gateway. So it is less of where is Microsoft or WhatsApp, it is more of where is my comfort feeling. It's a cherry on top of the cake if you are able to link it to existing Microsoft tech or the product tech. But, and that's what I think, you lead the interview, which means you work to your comfort zone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So because when I was working with Menika, right, I deliberately, after all of those, you remember, I picked up two more. I said satellite, even I was thinking, and Menika kept saying industries that I couldn't understand. कि अरे मैं military में क्या करूँगा, can't think. Then I said, oh, I will include travel. Why did I include travel? Because I can understand travel well, leisure. Deliberately I added it. The reason I added it is because I know I can speak for 10 minutes on travel. So that was not thinking about Microsoft को कैसे solve करना है. That was thinking where is my strength.
So
No, that
Sandeep,
makes sense, Sandeep. Thank you.
yeah,
हाँ जी मैडम.
Sandeep, I'm just adding on to what you and Amrit were talking about, right? Like, so when you post that question and we picked the food industry, my first immediate thought was to like, okay, the food industry is very broad, so let me segment it. So I said like, okay, supply chain, then I took retail, then I took delivery, like, you know, the delivery services, the tech. So when I was identifying those segments, I'm in my background, subconsciously, I was thinking where Microsoft as a tech player can, you know, contribute. So that was my actually starting point when I was thinking, and I was thinking where Microsoft can contribute, and then work through that. Would you like right now? You said like when you thought about WhatsApp, like to drive. Rather than in your structure, you kind of tied it in the end, like the organization strength. You tied it back in the end. Is it does it make sense to even start thinking about it in the very beginning itself, or like, okay, there is no right or wrong here, maybe like you can
Menika, I'll yield to this. If we are in a world where we are able to think through if you are having that intellectual horsepower where you are able to think through the journey and the problem and how will you tie it back to Microsoft, nothing like it. Nothing like it. Like there is nothing wrong here. This is actually better, way better than what I was proposing. But all I'm saying is, even when you were articulating the journey, right? The journey also ought to have a structure. The journey has to have a start and an end. Okay, I'll give you a small instance. I joined the Xbox team, okay, the gaming team, and I joined it very recently. The moment I joined, I said, help me understand the journey of a game from the moment somebody thought of it to the moment somebody played it.
Okay.
And I wrote a document on that. And it's a 3-pager document which says, I have an idea. The game starts with, I have an idea, to pre-production, like just like a movie, to production, to actual distribution, to figuring out consoles, to distributing consoles, to getting a game, and they like, I found that, oh my god, there are 6 personas involved. Right? So that structure is very, very important. And I'm telling you, that structure is what I just followed. Like hardly 2 months back, I followed the structure. Because for me to be, and I'm owning a small piece in gaming, small piece. But in order for me to own this small piece, I really need to think, how did somebody even think about a game, all the way to making consoles and shipping consoles, to all the way to bringing that game to a player's hand. Once I understand that, then I will go solve my small problem.
Yeah.
ठीक है, तो आप भी जब यूज केस, आप जो सिनेरियो बता रहे हैं ना, you really need to start off with food की, where did the food start? And I loved it that Sushmita picked it actually. She said, oh, let's go to farmer first. And then from, of course, food starts with the farmer, then we'll go from there.
Sure.
Yeah, but I yield to what you said. If you can think of how will you tie back, because I'll tell you what was going through my mind. And that's why I had to pause a bit when Amrit asked me this question. What was going in my mind is, where is my strength? See, because it's packing so much of knowledge that you have and so much of structure in that 1 hour interview. Despite this structure, your interview may go completely bad, and it's okay. Because and that's why companies have 4 rounds, right? Maybe 1 round went bad, maybe the second round did not go bad, right? Because if all 3 rounds went bad, means kuch gadbad hai. So think of it that way, and that's why I keep reiterating 2 things that we all must do before applying for interviews, or even when you're starting a new product, or even if you're existing PM in an existing product. It applies for everyone. Step 0, understand the end-to-end journey.
Journey. Mm.
Very important. If you don't understand the journey, you may still become a good PM in your area, but it will become difficult for you to scale. In an interview, it will be very difficult for you to even select what problem you want to go after. Because you will say suddenly, let's say WhatsApp. Oh, WhatsApp performance chat. WhatsApp is chat. I will go solve the chat problem. Chat problem WhatsApp में ओ भाई कोई performance problem ही नहीं है chat में. Because chat, by virtue of chat, is a performance, what do you call? It's not a problem where performance is very critical. If I send you a message and your message comes 2 seconds later, or maybe even 3 seconds later, what is going in my mind? Oh, maybe you're typing. 5 seconds, big deal. 6 seconds में आ गया. Okay. But is that a very big performance problem? Maybe not. Maybe video is a performance problem. And the reason I was going to payment gateways is because if I am the guy who's paying to a vendor, then there's a very big performance problem, because if my message does not go, I'm sitting there in your shop. I don't want to stand there in your shop. I want to go out. There's a big performance problem there. So that's what I'm saying. When you think WhatsApp also, think of the entire user journey. Otherwise, WhatsApp chat में performance, performance problem ही नहीं है. And therefore you drill yourself into a small hole very quickly because you didn't think broad. That's the whole point that I'm trying to say.
Sure.
By the way, WhatsApp performance chat में कोई performance problem नहीं है. Exactly what happened to one of us in an interview. Because what is WhatsApp used for? It's chat. Performance problem ही नहीं मिल रही है chat में. Solve क्या करेंगे? And it happens. It always happens. That's why again and again, only one takeaway, if you want to take away from this entire 1.5 hour meeting is, or 2 hours now, is go broad, go deep. Go broad will allow you to think where you want to go deep. I went broad and deep on customer persona. I went broad and deep on customer's journey. I went broad and deep on customer's problem. I went broad and deep on customer's solution. All 4 aspects. It allows you to think. Especially in these cases, huh? Don't go broad and deep in, let's go make a app, like whatever that was, something for blind, right? What was that question? I forgot. उसमें आप कहाँ broad deep जाओगे?
Uber for blind.
हाँ, Uber for blind, right? You can't go broad in, like you can't say, oh, blind people, do blind people, like are they also people who can't listen? Then you are just expanding the scope unnecessarily. Then don't do that. This is very specific to ambiguous questions. Any other questions? Okay, looks like none. And I deeply apologize for making you stay awake till 10:30 p.m. on a Sunday night. I hope you all wake up tomorrow morning on time to go to office. So I deeply apologize for whoever feels Sunday is inconvenient. But thank you so much. I hope you got some aspects that you are able to incorporate in case of these ambiguities, even in your work life. This, and again I have realized this thing. Whenever I post this, right, there are lawyers who come back and answer, Sandeep, this is applicable to law also. This is applicable to consultancy also. This is applicable to life as well. And this is applicable to product management interviews also. When there is ambiguity, how do you go solve those problems? That's the moot point that we were discussing today. Okay, so with this, I want to thank everyone for staying back so late, and goodbye, good night, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week. And for those who are in India, Tuesday is a holiday, don't go to work and enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
That's it.
Sandeep. This was a wonderful session.
Yeah, it was very good.
Before we leave, big round of applause for Sushmita. Sushmita,
Yeah.
it was very courageous of you in the last meeting to say, I will attend it. One very good quality I found in you is at times the interview was not going according to the way you wanted, but you never lost your cool. You were there, you were fighting like a warrior throughout the interview. I never saw that strain coming on you, that should I be thinking this way, that way? Never. You're very, like, you're a MS Dhoni of interviews.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Love that. And that's it. I think so. I'm done.
But yeah, but I'm getting many more ideas after the interview as well. So
वो
like
होता
that's
है
the ambiguity.
You see, that happens. That's why, and this always happens, that you feel after the interview that, oh, I could have said this, I could have said that. That's why this
Exactly.
structure becomes so important, right? Because in that structure, then you just need to fill in the gaps. It always happens. Okay? Acha, for those who are still staying through, I just want to say one more thing. Don't get caught up in structures also. I've seen that happen where people say, for blind people, customer persona, अरे ये तो defined है यार, customer persona में क्या लिखूं मैं, कुछ नहीं आ रहा है, तो आगे बढ़ो. It's solved for you. At times that also happens, because somebody told that customer personas, they need to go broad and go deep. I'm not able to go broad. And at times people say it out loud, and then you can see that people are trying to fit the interview into a structure, and therefore they are struggling. So be nimble on that. How do you be nimble? Practice. These questions that I've given, practice all these questions in not more than 30 minutes. I loved, somebody posted an entire interview in this chat, like how was the thinking, and it was Jinsen. I will review this and I'll put my comments to Jinsen. This is exactly what you need to do. In 15-20 minutes, think of the whole structure of the interview on a piece of paper, exactly the way Jinsen replied at 9:11 p.m. And that's it. And this is what you post on WhatsApp and I will comment. Okay, practice will help. There's no other way. By the way, I'll just keep speaking if you stay, huh? If you want to drop, please drop. Okay then. Good night. Looks like I need to leave, otherwise people are not leaving. If there are questions, ask me. I'm here. I'm just joking.
Actually, we just love to hear you.
Tell
We
this to
never
my
Yeah,
wife,
same.
huh? Come and tell this to my wife.
Yeah.
During this
We anyways
conversation,
used to stay awake, so
I've gotten 2 ultimatums. धीरे बोलो. मैं ऊंचा क्यों बोल रहे हो?
Sandeep, I have a question, like so for APM kind of